Can you eat out at a Chinese restaurant and keep your blood sugar low? Is that even possible? It is indeed, and I'll show you how. Check this out. Well, it is a lazy, cloudy afternoon here in North Texas, and Benedict and I find ourselves in a Chinese restaurant. What are we doing here? Well, it was about 2 months ago that we came here and I ate a great meal, cheated a little bit, and ate a few things I probably should not have eaten. And I was surprised when I tested my blood sugar. Now, normally I test after an hour. And in this case, we didn't make it home in time. We had other things going on, so I almost gave up on testing altogether. But finally, at around 3 hours after I finished eating, I tested my blood sugar, and it was a 148. I was shocked because I said to myself, if it's 148 3 hours later, what in the world was it after 1 hour? Probably 170, 180, who knows? So I've come back to the same restaurant, same Chinese food, but I'm going to behave myself and be a little better and see if I can do better. Benedict is here with me, but she didn't want to mic herself. So before we left the house, we stopped and chatted a little bit about how we're going to approach this Chinese dinner. Let's go back to the house right now. Well, it's lunchtime, or maybe even a little past lunchtime.
Yes, it's lunchtime in the city.
So we're going to eat some Chinese food. Did you ever eat Chinese food in Nigeria?
Yes, I did. They're all over the place.
They're all over the place. And was that one of your favorites? Did you eat it very much?
Yeah, not very much, but once in a while, when I can afford it, or someone has to buy me lunch.
So we're going to do something a little different this time. And we are going to have me go low-carb Chinese, and you're going to do what people normally do, which is what? What kind of foods are you going to be eating when we go to the Chinese restaurant?
Well, the things I like to eat a little, of everything. The fruits, the meat, the vegetables, a little rice, and little here and there. Make my plate.
So she's mostly going to be eating normal Chinese restaurant fare, and I'm going to be cutting it low carb. We're going to see what the difference in our blood sugar. You know, when we got married, and on one of the first trips we did abroad, I was eating more rice in those days. I hadn't cut back like I have now. I eat hardly no rice at all, but in those days I was eating some. But I was cutting it down, and I had about a half plate of rice. You had a full plate of rice. You ate all that rice, and then what did you want to do with my other half that was left over? Do you remember that?
Are you freaking kidding me right now that you're going there? Yeah, I know. I ate all my food and ate, some of his rice. That is where he's going, y'all.
Well, one thing you have to keep in mind is when I married Benedicta, she was skinny. I mean, she's slim now, but she was absolutely skinny. And she didn't have a lot of money and didn't have access to big meals. So when I would take her out, she was living in Nigeria. She didn't yet have her visa to come to America. So when I would take her on these trips and give her basically whatever she wanted to eat, she took full advantage of it. And I think you must have gained a few pounds on those trips.
No, I didn't.
Well, you did after you got to America, though.
Yeah, I did.
So we're headed for the Chinese restaurant, and I'm going to eat low carb, as I said. She's going to eat normal carb. We'll see what the difference is. Of course, I've got the blood sugar issues, so it may not be much difference, and she may even beat me even so. What do you think? You think it's going to raise your blood sugar much?
Well, I beat you all the time. This is not new. My blood sugar is always nice and normal, but the things I eat at the restaurants may or not make any difference, but we shall see.
Well, we shall see indeed. So, back to the restaurant. In most Chinese buffet-style restaurants, you find a great variety of foods comprising the good, the bad, and the in-between, but mostly the good and the bad. In this restaurant, they had a salad bar, but not really very many salad items. Lettuce always works, of course, but I didn't really find nearly as many garden salad, low-carb foods to make a satisfactory salad as I would have liked. One thing every Chinese restaurant will have in abundance is rice. But if you want to keep blood sugar low, you just need to keep right on moving past the rice. Another item Chinese restaurants are known for is their noodles. These noodles are made from wheat, and wheat products raise blood sugar, whether in the form of bread, bagels, pasta, pretzels, whatever. Many people feel like they haven't really eaten Chinese if they haven't had an ample helping of Chinese noodles. But if you want to corral blood sugar, when you see those noodles, keep right on going. One major bad guy you find when eating Chinese are the meats that are soaked in sugary sauces, such as this honey chicken or this orange chicken. Thanks, but no thanks. Even this barbecued beef is going to have a lot of sugar in that barbecue sauce. Better to stay away. And then there's that famous sweet and sour sauce. I don't know why they call it sweet and sour, because to me it's all sweet and not sour. It's loaded with sugar and it can mess you up big time. In this restaurant we have some more traditional high-carb foods such as pizza and French fries. I shouldn't have to say it, but stay away from these glucose-launching nightmares. Nearly every buffet restaurant has a fruit section, and this was no different. Some will deny it, but fruit raises blood sugar. Anyone who says they're diabetic and can eat fruit without a blood sugar spike is lying. They're lying either about the no spike or lying about being diabetic. As I look at the fruit, I have to practice a little self-denial. Watermelon? Nope. Honeydew melon? Nope. Apples? Nope. Grapes? Double nope. Pineapple? Triple nope. And these bananas soaking in red sugary sauce would be terrible for blood sugar. On this visit, I ate no fruit at all. I was determined to play it safe and get a much better glucose number. Another place for diabetics to completely avoid is the dessert area. Not much chance that these desserts are sweetened with stevia. If you want to eat a dessert, go home, get on YouTube, and type in the words keto dessert. On this trip, I went straight to the Mongolian stir-fry area. Here you can pick out whatever ingredient you want, top it with a sauce of your choice, and watch your food being fried on the grill. I start with the meat section: beef, pork, chicken. No problems here. Not a carb to be found in the bunch. I help myself to liberal meat portions, knowing they'll fill me up, they taste great, and have almost no effect on my blood sugar. I have a few carrot slices. These are not exactly low carb, but they're not high carb either. I should be able to handle a few of these. And there's my old friend broccoli. No problems here. I can have about as many of these babies as I want. The same is true with these cucumber pieces. You'll wear yourself out eating cucumbers before they ever affect your blood sugar. The same is true with this cabbage. No problems here. Mushrooms? Sure, mushrooms are a great addition to my stir-fry meal and have almost no carbs. And here's another old friend, green peppers, as well as red peppers. I love them, and they have quite a bit of vitamin C, they taste great, and have few carbs. Onions? Well, they do have some carbs, but a few onion slices won't have many. I should be safe with a few of these. Okay, I think that'll be about enough. But I need some kind of sauce for all this great food to fry in. First, I go for the soy sauce, which has a lot of salt but little sugar. I fear sugar far more than I do salt, so soy sauce is a good choice. But to make my stir-fry even tastier and give it some real fat, I get a couple of hunks of butter. That's just the ticket. The chef did a great job with my food, and soon I picked it up and headed back to the table to join Benedicta, who for some reason has never even tried this Mongolian grill. But I had a wonderful meal I could enjoy, and I was about 99% certain that it would not have a major impact upon my blood sugar. Good food and good company. Life is good. After my first plate of food, I went back for some more. After all, this was an all-you-can-eat restaurant, and I was determined to get my money's worth. But due to the fact that I was about full, and plus I wanted a good number on that glucose monitor an hour after I finished eating, I limited myself. I started with a few green beans. They're always safe. Then I went for some baked salmon, the keto dieter's best friend. Salmon tastes great, it's high in fat, which is exactly what keto dieters are looking for, and it has virtually no carbs. Can't go wrong here. I looked around, but I didn't see anything I had to have, so I finished my second course with a lowly boiled egg. No carbs to worry about here. Done. Eat this, then close up shop, wait an hour, and see my results. Well, it's been about an hour plus now that we enjoyed that meal. How did you like your Chinese dinner or lunch or whatever you want to call it?
It was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
I love eating at Chinese restaurant. Oh my gosh.
And you had something that you don't see in Africa much, which is an all-you-can-eat buffet. We could just go back and back and back, and we enjoyed that, didn't we?
Yeah, that was one of the things I really enjoyed when I came to America. Like, oh my gosh, there is a place that you can go front and back and eat all you can eat.
So with this test, it was a little different because we didn't eat the same. I deliberately cut out almost anything that could really seriously affect blood sugar. And in your case, I encouraged you to eat some of the things that affect blood sugar just to see what difference there might be, knowing that, my blood sugar issues are much bigger than yours. In fact, you really don't have any. Mm-hmm. So you had the freedom. You didn't really pig out as much as I thought you would. But tell us, what were some of the higher carb foods that you ate that could affect blood sugar?
Really? You wanted me to eat all the high carbs and then have everything all hijacked up, or what?
I just wanted to see what it would do if you really pigged out on those high-carb foods, but you didn't do it. You did eat some.
I would have loved it had it been that you jacked up with those high-carb food, and then when we return, we'll see how he's doing with you instead of me.
Let me explain something about this young lady beside me. She has a very competitive streak in her. And she can't stand to lose in anything. You even beat me in bowling after I was teaching you about bowling.
Yeah. First time of my bowling. First time I did bowling, I beat every one of them, including him.
Absolutely demolished my manly pride. But she can't stand to lose in anything. So when I gave you the freedom and encouraged you to eat high-carb foods, you kind of held back. You did eat a few things, but you could have done a lot worse. What were a couple of the higher-carb foods that you ate?
I ate some fruits. I ate some rice, a little, not too much.
Right.
So those are the two high carb food I ate. I ate a little bit of salad, not too much.
Yeah, well, salad's not going to be high carb anyway. You could have done a lot worse. In fact, compared to what the normal person who would walk through those doors would eat, you were really low carb. Okay. You were higher carb than me, but you were fairly low carb.
Right.
She did have rice, but not that much. You had fruit was probably the one thing you had quite a bit of. You love fruit.
I love fruit. I ate
but
a lot of
it. It didn't work out bad. So let's talk about the scores. You started out at a great number, which was
86,
and an hour afterwards you went to
117.
117. So that's about a 31-point rise, which is significant. But anytime you peak under 120. You're doing great.
Okay.
Yeah, diabetics will peak at 160, 180, 200, 250, 300, 350. So if you peak under 120, that's awesome. So you went into a Chinese restaurant, ate a big meal, and it was a big meal. I think she ate more than I did, tell you the truth.
Are you kidding me right now?
Don't tell anybody about that.
No, you're telling everybody about it.
But she ate a big meal. You didn't eat a lot of the higher carb foods, but you ate some. And you ended up peaking at 117. Good job.
Yeah.
Well done. Give me 5. Bam. So, in my case, I started out too high. I was disgusted. I was at a 108 before the meal, and I hadn't eaten since maybe 9 in the morning, and we had the meal probably around 2:15 in the afternoon, so it had been a while, but my blood sugar amazingly had kind of drifted upwards. And so it was a 108. But here's the interesting thing. An hour after I finished the meal,
right,
and there was almost nothing in there that could raise blood sugar much. There were a few things that could raise it a little bit. An hour afterwards, it was at 101. So I finished lower than I started with. To go into a Chinese restaurant and finish an hour after you eat at a lower blood sugar number than what you had before you went into that Chinese restaurant, well, that's amazing.
Yeah, you did great. You did great, buddy. You did great.
But, of course, that's what happens when you are careful and when you watch it. And in my mind, a Chinese restaurant with the noodles and with the rice and with all those sweet sauces that a lot of those dishes had. Now, we stayed away from that mostly.
Right, mostly.
But some of those dishes have a lot, and you got the sweet and the sour sauce and just sugar-laden stuff that they soak the meat in. So to go into a place like that and come out with a 117 and a 101, well, that just ain't too bad at all.
I ate some meat.
Meat is not a problem, but when they soak that meat in a sauce that's loaded with sugar, that's the problem.
Right.
Meat is never a problem, unless it's got a breaded coating. I'm going to come back and talk about the first meal I had that did jack my blood sugar up pretty high and kind of explain what I think was the cause of that. But to me, it's like you go into a lion-infested forest and you walk around for a day and you come out, and you're still okay. You haven't been attacked. You know, you survived. You're still all in one piece. And you say, praise God. You know, I made it. I went into a lion-infested forest. I hung around for a whole day. I came out, and I'm still alive. So that's a good thing. But
very good one.
We went beyond that because we went into a Chinese restaurant. We had a great meal. We got full. In fact, so full, we won't be eating anything much later this day.
The thing is, I didn't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
Till the time we ate this food.
But the point I'm making is we went into a Chinese restaurant, had a big meal, came out safely.
Yeah.
But we didn't just survive. Okay. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we enjoyed it.
We thrived. We enjoyed the meal. We enjoyed the atmosphere. We had a good time. So sometimes people assume that if you're diabetic or you're really watching your carbs, you can't eat Chinese, you can't eat Mexican, you can't eat this, you can't eat that, you can't ever have anything sweet past your lips and, you know, blah, 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 until it gets so depressing, so discouraging. It's like, why even try?
Yeah.
And the reality is there's all kinds of ways you can make this work, folks, without sacrificing all that much.
Right.
Yeah, there were some foods I could have and would have enjoyed had I never been through this blood sugar issue, but I had a good time. I had a good meal. I'm full. And with a 101 as a peak, and 1 hour is almost always my peak, I'm feeling pretty good. With your 117, you should feel good too.
I feel good.
Now, I did beat you. Let's admit that much. So,
not too much.
She went up 31 points. I went down 8 points. So, but you did eat a lot of fruit, and I didn't.
You beat me this time. I've been beating him.
Well, folks, I don't know hardly what to say about it, but I just feel kind of good about. You know what I'm saying?
Really, like right now, really.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break. I'm going to come back and talk about the first meal I had and why I think that messed me up so much, and then we'll close it up. So stay tuned. So what were the major offenders that first time at the Chinese restaurant that made my blood sugar rise to the point that 3 hours later, after the meal, it was at 148? Thinking back about this meal, I've deduced that there were 4 foods and sauces which caused such a problem. It wasn't rice or noodles. I knew enough to avoid them, and I had no dessert. Wasn't about to do that. So in some ways, I thought of myself as being a good boy. But in truth, I did take some foods and sauces I'd have been better off avoiding. First, I had 3 pieces of honeydew melon, which is about the sweetest of all the melons. Second, I had teriyaki sauce over my stir-fry mixture, which is sweeter than soy sauce. Now, there is some teriyaki sauce which is actually fairly low-carb, but others are not, and I have the feeling that this teriyaki sauce was super sweetened. Third, I could not resist having a couple of pieces of sweet and sour chicken and then pouring a little of that super sweet and sour sauce over them. I knew I shouldn't, but I suppose that a small amount wouldn't hurt. And fourth, I enjoyed several huge popcorn shrimp. They were fried with a breaded coating, and to make matters worse, I dipped each of them in cocktail sauce, which again is very sweet. Now, none of these items by themselves would probably have sent my blood sugar soaring, but when combined, they launched it into orbit, which I found out when I saw a 148 3 hours after eating. So this last visit at the Chinese restaurant, I had no fruit at all. I used soy sauce with butter and left off the teriyaki sauce. I skipped the popcorn shrimp and cocktail sauce, and I avoided the sweet and sour chicken and sweet and sour sauce. By slashing these high-carb foods, my blood sugar responded appropriately, and at 1 hour it had gone down instead of rising. Sometimes I think when this happens, my pancreas has been fooled. It probably said to itself, "Oh boy, we're at that Chinese restaurant again. I'd better release a little extra insulin." And since there were so few carbs in what I ate that time, my blood sugar went down instead of up. Now, let me emphasize that what I'm describing to you is the way you beat diabetes. You eat foods and meals, test yourself, see how your body reacts, and then make adjustments. And when you see better results the next time, you're going to be so excited and you're going to be filled with motivation, as well as gaining the necessary information you need to keep your blood sugar under control. So let my experience be a lesson to you. When you get a little daring or you're tempted to cheat a little bit, be sure and test yourself. If the results are unacceptable, next time make some changes. It is amazing just how powerfully and quickly your blood sugar will respond when you get the right formula and craft the right kind of meals. By cutting out those 4 offenders and repeating a meal at this Chinese restaurant, I saw an 8-point decrease in blood sugar rather than the 70 or 80-point spike I probably had at the 1 hour mark that first time. Okay, that's it. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, so YouTube will promote it to lots of other people that need to see it. And consider subscribing to our channel and then click on that little bell so you'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless. See you again soon.